It is a clean old-fashioned hate week, sir.
Yeah.
And I had some stats earlier in the year. I didn't even pull them up. I'd have to go back in my document to find them. But I had stats about, when these teams have both played as top 10 teams and all this, and what could potentially happen. And Tech's just kind of falling apart here down the stretch. So we're looking at what number 4 versus number 16. No, they don't have the new rankings. They saw the playoff rankings. I think it's 4 versus 23 in the AP poll. But yeah, Georgia Tech, man. What's like the first Georgia Tech memory? Maybe not the first memory you had, but like the first one that jumps out to you of just like all-time Georgia Tech moment.
Oh man, the one that I always think of probably for like the first time I remember being like a conscious fan watching that game was when 2013 game when Georgia Tech went up 20-0, and then Todd Gurley went crazy.
Oh yeah,
had the walk-off game winner in overtime, and I believe that was their 5th straight win over Tech, which like they hadn't beat Tech 5 years in a row in a long time at that point. So that was a pretty awesome game. I remember being super hyped about that one. That was in Bobby Dodd. Yeah, I just remember I remember watching that game with my family on the TV and being like, oh my God, like Todd Gurley is a god. And a part of me still feels that way. So
absolutely. Todd Gurley, all-timer. That's a good one. I think shout out to my brother. I think he posted a selfie like with his now wife at halftime of that game. It was like before the comeback or something like that when they were down like 20-0. And yeah, that was big time. The first one jumps out to me is actually the first one in said streak you're referring to of the 5 straight, which would have been 2009. And remember as the We Run This State game. That was because 2008 is the worst 10-3 season of all time, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of college football history. People talk about that 2008 team like they were just the worst, like they were Florida State from last year or something. It's like
they literally finished number 2 the year before and brought everybody back, and then
it was disappointing. You don't have to tell me. I was disappointed, but it's like that team did lose to the 2 teams that played for the SEC championship and Georgia Tech that year. So it's like it was a very disappointing year, but I think they finished the year like 12th or something.
Yeah, they collapsed in that game.
But yeah, that 2008 game, they had like 400 yards rushing, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just year 1 of Paul Johnson and everything. So that was brutal. In 2008, you kind of forgot how much you hated Georgia Tech. You were like, this 7 straight. I think, wait, because you're saying 5 straight. I'm pretty sure they won 7 straight. Like the first 7 years of Richt, because I think that was Richt's first loss to Tech was 2008. And you look at, and then so coming back 2009, it was just like they were Georgia Tech was 10-1 going into that game, ranked number 7. Georgia was 6-5, and came out the original Gershel, number 3 and number 4, would have been Washawn Ely and Caleb King, number 3 and number 4. But not a lot of great moments from the Washawn Ely and Caleb King era. But Ely had 183 in that game. Caleb King had 166. Had the We Run This State on the eye black and all of that. That was a great all-time moment, because I literally did. It was like the first time. 2008 was like the first time that Tech like really got us in my fandom. And so to bounce back in 2009 and just kind of ruin their top 10 season, that was huge.
Yeah, that and the whole, like, I guess this is a bit of a subject change, but that 4-year stretch where they traded wins, Georgia won 2013, Tech won that crazy game 2014, Georgia won that horrible, awful game in 2015, and then Tech.
Why can't I even remember the 2015 game?
Because nothing happened the whole time. The only thing that happened was Terry Godwin threw a touchdown pass. But
this would have been at Tech. Yeah,
no, it was in Athens because it was the year after Georgia. No, yeah, it was at Tech. Yeah, it was at Tech.
Okay. Because I was thinking all the ones they win are at Georgia.
Tech has beaten Georgia. They've both been in Athens. And then
I think every time they've won this century, they've been in Athens.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
That's probably right. But 2016 was when Georgia blew the 4th quarter lead. But that was a crazy, like, for as much of just a last year's game notwithstanding, the last 7 years before that game were all just kind of blowouts and snooze fests. But for 4 straight years there, that Georgia Tech Georgia rivalry was like kind of insane, and it kind of feels like we're getting back to that now.
Let's hope we don't get back to that, sir. I prefer the snooze fest. No, maybe not a snooze fest, but I do like the 3:30 Friday slate. Like I love this Black Friday, this triple header we're gonna have on Friday. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Also, it always seemed to be like a noon SEC network game for the longest time. So, you're kind of trying to keep up with Ohio State, Michigan while you're watching the Georgia game, So this is nice to just be at a different time and be able to watch that game. But also along the same lines, I want to shout out 2006. That would have been Stafford's freshman year.
Oh yeah.
That was like the same type of deal in 09. They came in, they were 9-2, ranked number 16. Georgia was 7-4. I think Georgia had just beaten Auburn, blasted Auburn when they were like top 5. When Paul Oliver shut down Calvin Johnson, sir. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I know you're a big Detroit fan. You think that couldn't have happened. Saw it. I saw it. R.I.P. Paul Oliver.
Paul Oliver, man.
But dude, he shut down Calvin Johnson for an entire football game. Paul Oliver is always like a what could have been kind of story to me. Like because he was picked. He came back for his senior year, and then I think had academic issues, so then like had to go pro anyway. And he was picked in like the supplemental draft, and he did play for the Chargers for a little bit. Obviously, had off-field stuff going on as well. But I always thought it was a bummer that he didn't get to come back for his senior year. Or it's like if he just goes pro, who knows? He could have been a first rounder. You put that Calvin Johnson tape out there. It's like he was just such a big corner. But yeah, he dominated Calvin Johnson for an entire game, and I'm still not sure how it happened. Stafford had the last minute drive, the touchdown to Muhammad Massaquoi at the end. So yeah, that was the same deal. When Georgia comes in I guess those were always the kind of the best games. When Tech is like a nationally ranked team and Georgia's having like their terrible seasons, that's when we get some of the most memorable games in the series.
Yeah, that was the fact that somebody actually like lined up against Calvin Johnson for a whole game and like shut him down is insane. I don't know. I mean, that only happened in the NFL like once or twice. Like that's
Let's be real. I'm sure he got some help from the quarterback. I don't know. It would have been Reggie Ball in 06.
I'm not sure.
I know it was 04 where Reggie Ball was there. I was at that game where he threw the ball away on 4th down.
Yeah.
I was at that one.
Another Detroit Lions legend, Reggie Ball.
Was he a Detroit Lion?
He was on the 08 team that didn't.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure he had some safety help over the top. I'm sure Georgia had a good game plan, Willie Martinez and the gang. But yeah, I mean, and they really shut him down in 05 too, with Demario Minter. Like Georgia had those big corners there for a couple of years, but he had that one sick catch, that like diving catch in the corner. I want to say Georgia won 14-7 in 05 because I remember they had like a first down at like the 10-yard line or something. And I remember saying as a teenager who didn't know anything about anything, I'm like, if they don't throw the ball to Calvin Johnson 4 straight times, they're idiots, And first down, I think they throw it opposite side. Tim Jennings picks it off, returns it like 50 yards, and then runs out of bounds. But yeah, there I guess there's been more good Georgia Tech moments than I'm giving the Yellow Jackets credit for.
Yeah, there have been some crazy games in this rivalry, man. I mean, I just like with anything. I mean, the last like 3 or 4 years can make you forget. Like we think that like the game last year was the first entertaining game in this rivalry in years, but if you really look back at your history, like there have been some wild ones in this rivalry, and we might be due for another one on Friday.
Yeah, and it seems like kind of the common wisdom for me when this game is like the years that Georgia is truly legit, they just absolutely destroy Georgia Tech. Like it's just like the 07 season or something, like the 2021, 2022. Yeah, 2017, like I think 02 was another one when they won the SEC. They put like a 50 spot on Georgia Tech. Like the legit Georgia teams seem to get it done. Last year's a team that won the SEC, but we're also kind of sitting there the whole year like, how good is this team? I'm not even really sure. And that was a game that, went to 8